Hello there, how are you getting on? It's Jay here, and before we get into my review for Money in the Bank 2018, a bit of a case of bad news, good news, and news unknown, if you will. Now, the bad news first was that I've actually tweaked my back again. If you've been following the channel, you'll see earlier on in the year I tweaked my back, and so as a result I'm not going to be as animated or moving around as much. But in the case of good news, when I was laid out with my back the last time, I was unable to make any videos for over a week, whereas this shouldn't interrupt the timetable. And onto news unknown, but as a result of this I'm going to have to change how I'm doing this video here, because while standing in front of the camera it puts no strain on my back whatsoever, sitting down to edit it will put some strain on it. So instead of doing my usually stupidly long reviews, I'm just going to be as concise as I can here, because if I'm waiting a couple of days for my back to get better to then make the really long video, it's going to be way too late, and there's too much stuff coming up with the WWE now to let this fall by the wayside. So let's just jump into it. Now, continuing what will maybe be a tradition started back at my Backlash review 6 weeks ago, we're going to take a look at the Kickoff show first. Hilariously, I've got nothing to say about like the first 40 minutes of the Kickoff show. Like, there was nothing of note that happened. You had Renee Young, Booker T, Peter Rosenberg and David Otunga all kind of doing their usual thing, and this is nothing to do with me being concise due to my back injury. It was just like, it was so uneventful. Like, I kept thinking to myself, if I am not subscribed to the WWE Network, or if I was on the fence about watching Money in the Bank and I sat down to watch this Kickoff show, I would have turned it off like 20 minutes in. I would have been like, no, there's nothing of note here, like I don't know what the hell happened. Anyway, so with that, we're just going to jump right into the first match, the match for the Kickoff show, which was for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It saw the champions, the Bludgeon Brothers, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, defending against the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And before we say anything about the match itself, two things I'd like to point out. One, Carl Anderson, man, you are looking fine at the moment. I know everyone on social media has pointed out how ripped he's gotten recently, but fair play to you, that's really going the extra mile. And I actually haven't mentioned it in any of the other reviews, but like, Luke Harper's mask that he wears for his entrance is awesome. I love it, and it actually turns out it was made by Tom Savini, which makes so much sense. Now, as for the match itself, it kind of, when you have a Kickoff show, you'll have one or two things. Either it's a nothing match that you have no interest in, or as in the case of this match, it's a match you really would have hoped would be on the main card, because you would have liked to have seen it got more time. This match only got about 8 minutes, and there was an ad break in the middle of it, hilariously for Money in the Bank, like an ad break for the thing we're already paid for and going to watch. Thanks for that. But you had a really interesting dynamic in this match, because the Bludgeon Brothers have just been squashing pretty much everyone that they've come up against, but with the Good Brothers, like with Luke Gallows in particular, you have someone who can actually square up to them size-wise, and the Gallows himself is actually quite agile. So at the start of the match, it was really nice to kind of see someone be able to take the fight to him, but really nice double drop kick by the Bludgeon Brothers to Luke Gallows on the outside, which results them in isolating Carl Anderson. And this is like a minute and a half into the match. I'm thinking, oh wow, this is getting interesting, and boom, that aforementioned ad break crops up. And then, so that takes the wind out of your sails, really, that you can't even get like 2 minutes into a match before you get to an ad break. And then when we come back from the ad break, you get the hot tag from Anderson to Gallows, which was a really cool, really cool offense by Gallows. Like, you can see, he knew he was kind of fighting this on his own. He was swinging lots of kicks. Really cool hot tag. The match culminates with Luke Harper trying to suplex Luke Gallows, but he counters it. Anderson's able to run in. Looks like they're going to go for the Magic Killer. But Eric Rowan interjects. Then they're able to, Rowan and Harper are able to hit their full Nelson assisted sit-out powerbomb for the win. And this game, again, only 8 minutes long, but like, from watching that match, if I really wish this match was given more time, because there's a really nice dynamic between the two teams, and you know, if they were given like 18-20 minutes, they could have this phenomenal match. But unfortunately, you have the Bludgeon Brothers have now beaten the Good Brothers. Just realised that now, like cleanly. Like, there were no shenanigans, and it was a pretty decisive win. So you're kind of looking at it now from a story perspective. It's like, well, the Good Brothers are going to have to like earn another championship opportunity. It won't make a whole lot of sense to have just another match just like, I know, you could just go, that was a really good match, let's do it again. But like in storyline purposes, or kind of in storyline terms, there would be no reason like Gallows and Anderson should be, you know, to the back of the line now, which is unfortunate because like this match was good for an 8-minute match with an ad break at a really unfortunate time, and it could have been more, and hopefully we'll get to see more in the future. So kind of a pity with that at first. With the kickoff show out of the way, it's on to the main card, and first match of the night is Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Yes, a rematch from their Backlash one-on-one match from 6 weeks ago. Because, as you may recall, Bryan beat Cass very convincingly in a short period of time, so we had to have one more match just to make sure that wasn't a fluke. Now, during my Backlash review, I did mention that, you know, this story had potential to go somewhere, and they could have multiple matches, and it would be a great opportunity for Big Cass to grow under the learning tree of Daniel Bryan. But unfortunately the story remained unchanged. It was Big Cass going, "Oh Daniel, look how tall I am and you're so short. How can a little guy like you ever expect to beat a big guy like me?" Despite the fact he already had beaten him at Backlash, and even he had some of the commentary team mentioning, how's Daniel Bryan going to work around the size of Big Cass? And I can't remember who, but at one point one of the 3 commentators said, "Guys, you do remember that they had a match like 6 weeks ago at Backlash, and like Bryan was able to take him down and tap him out?" And then the other 2 were like, "No, you don't. Well, this is different. This is different." Not different. So the only kind of question to answer here was, like, forgetting about the story, was the match better this time around? And not to say that the first match was bad, it was a fairly standard affair. So this match was noticeably longer than their previous outing, but it was noticeably better as well. I felt that Big Cass seemed a lot more comfortable in his heel persona now, because Backlash he was trying way too hard, like he was like animating himself facially way too much, and it looked a bit hokey at times, where he seemed a bit more relaxed and comfortable with kind of like who his character is now, which that worked well, like much to his benefit during this match. And then as for the match itself, a lot more cool sequences. You had Big Cass hitting Daniel Bryan with the deep 6 at one point. I was like, whoa, Cass, be careful, these are co-branded pay-per-views. Constable Corbin, he could have a meeting with Kurt Angle and Paige and have you extradited to Raw in a heartbeat, and then you know what'll happen, you'll have to have a match with them. And what happens then? And Corbin would probably lose, being honest. But outside of that, you had this really cool sequence with Bryan hitting a head scissors on Big Cass to get him into the yes lock. Cass is able to get out of it, and it was still very Bryan heavy on the offense. Like, but in terms of being in control, I'd say time-wise or percentage-wise, Bryan had the greater kind of share of control of the match. It's just he's trying to chop down the big oak tree that is Big Cass. But you have Bryan working Cass's leg throughout the match as well, and he's eventually able to hit him with the knee, lock him in the heel hook, and Big Cass taps out. Well, this was this was a much better match than their Backlash match. I really enjoyed it, but at this point, seeing how the story's gone and how their matches are gone, they have to end it now. Let Big Cass go on to feud with someone else, and let Bryan move on to feud with someone else. It's, you know what, like, I didn't notice an improvement with Big Cass from Backlash to Money in the Bank, at least in terms of the pay-per-view matches. So hopefully Cass kind of use that opportunity of wrestling Daniel Bryan 2 matches over 2 pay-per-views to learn a lot, and, you know, hopefully he'll grow, because I do like Big Cass and I don't want to see him fail, but at the same time this storyline needs to die a horrible death really quickly. So congrats to Bryan on winning, and hopefully we can move on to other things now. Second match of the main card is a one-on-one match pitting Sami Zayn against Bobby Lashley. This is a grudge match, I think. Sami really doesn't like Bobby, but Bobby seems to be all smiles about it, and just what they've done with Bobby's character since he's come back, and this whole storyline. Like, man, fuck the build to this storyline. Fuck obstacle courses. Fuck Bobby's happy-go-lucky demeanour, and fuck Bobby's sisters. Okay, and like, not like that, I didn't mean it that way. I think the most telling thing about this match was the most entertaining part of it for me was Sami Zayn's entrance. Like, I love how he just seems to be in love with himself as he's making his way down to the ring. Like, that guy, his entrance like gets a huge laugh out of me every time he comes out. He always seems to have some sort of variation on a silly, hey everyone look at me, I love me dance as he's making his way down to the ring. It's really cool. As for the match itself, whatever, like the Zayn clearly, a lot of Kevin Owens' kind of attitude and antics have rubbed off on him, because at the start of the match he's doing the thing of getting into the ring really slowly and then quickly diving back out, and you're just waiting for Bobby to get his hands on him, which he does. He hits 3 delayed vertical suplexes with these weird Dominator things in between. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there, but then after hitting the 3rd delayed vertical suplex, he's able to just place a hand on Sammy's chest and pin him in a really short amount of time. You know what, like, Bobby needed to look, like, Bobby is a character that needs to look really strong, but I think it's such a shame at Sammy's expense. And like, and the second the match was over, he was back smiling again. It's like, oh, will you stop? Like we're never going to take you seriously fighting Brock Lesnar, Bobby, if you're constantly going around being like, oh, you can rip the piss out of my family, my military background, and my sisters. I'll be all smiles about it. I might hit you with 3 suplexes though. Like, come on, guys, we can do better than that. Next on the card, we have a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship, as the title holder Seth Rollins puts his championship on the line against Elias. So of course, before the match can start, we have to have a little Elias segment, and I really like what they did here, because Elias didn't play any song. Like, they were in Chicago and he could have probably ripped the piss out of them with his song, but no matter what he did, because Chicago is Chicago, they probably would have lapped it up and started cheering for it and laughing anyway. So the best way to kind of generate heat and to get them to boo him was just have him to be like, I'm going to play a song. In fact, you know what? You're not worth it. Brilliant, loved it. Oh, Seth comes out next. They have their match. Match was like kind of Seth Rollins' Intercontinental title defense has become like a highlight for me. Like, if I was to watch anything by WWE, I'm just like waiting for Seth Rollins to come out and to put his Intercontinental title on the line. But this match was a bit slow to build up. Not that it was bad, and even then necessarily matches don't have to be fast coming out of the gate, but when you have a match that starts off slow and kind of stays slow but is slowly building up momentum, it needs to build up to something really big at the end. Or if it's going to be slow for the first 10 minutes, you probably need like another 8 to 10 minutes after that for it to pick up, to just stop it from being like, well, the bulk of the match was really slow and boring. But thankfully the match does pick up. You've had the whole story of Elias injuring Seth's neck, and then Seth's problem with his knee. Like you get to the point where I'm like, Seth, should you even be wrestling? Like, I know, like in kayfabe terms, he's constantly hobbling around on his knee and holding his neck down, and it's just like, oh, maybe take some time off, Seth. Yeah. So, but as we get to the kind of towards the end of the match, a really cool sequence of like Seth going for the curb stomp on Elias, but he's able to roll out of the ring. Seth kind of hobbles into a suicide dive, but Elias is able to kind of throw him into the barricade. And like very simple heel tactics, he just throws him into the post, throws him into the steps, rolls him back into the ring, hits an elbow drop for a near fall. Which is like that was the moment I came alive, and that's kind of what these kind of matches that start off slow need to build up to, like a really exciting sequence to kind of lead you into the finish, which the finish was just a sequence of roll-ups, with Seth actually grabbing Elias's belt, which is an illegal maneuver to roll him up for the pin. And hilariously, as Seth's celebrating, you have like all the commentators are like, well, when you're in a championship match, you have to do what you have to do. And it's like, don't defend his actions, he just cheated. It's like, if he was a different character, you would have been like, no. Like, if Elias did that, they'd be like, that's despicable. He is besmirching the honor of the Intercontinental Championship. And it's like, then when Seth does it, it's like, oh yeah, you know, Seth, like, he defends his title a lot, so we should give him a break. So yeah, like the match was good. Like, not as good as, say, his match with The Miz a Backlash there, but, you know, it was a solid Intercontinental title defense. And to be fair, Seth has been like on fire, like, since the start of the year. Like, pretty much everything he's been doing has been absolutely amazing. So having one match where I was like, oh, that was a really good match, like not, oh my god, you have to see this match, but like, yeah, that's fair enough. And, you know, hopefully he'll have a long and healthy Intercontinental Championship reign, so he can keep on having these great matches. And here's a picture of Dolph Ziggler. I'm just going to leave that up there for you. Fourth match of the night is the first of 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, and it is for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, before we actually get into anything with the match itself, I have to say, with the co-branded pay-per-views, them doing the kind of 8-person ladder matches, having 4 from Raw and 4 from SmackDown, able to win a briefcase, but they can only challenge for the title in their respective brand. I actually really like that, because it adds this new dynamic. Like, if you had just the one briefcase and then the one championship that they could cash in on, or being able to cash in on both, like, you'd be able to kind of pick out a winner very easily, but because you have 4 people on Raw telling their story and 4 people isolated on SmackDown telling their story, you could, you know, at most pick 1 winner each out of the 2 of them. So it was very smart, and actually I really liked how this Money in the Bank ladder match took place before any of the women's championship matches, because I couldn't make a prediction going into the pay-per-view, and even as the pay-per-view started I was like, I'm going to wait to see how the championship matches pan out and then I'm going to make my prediction, but the ladder match was first. So it was really just, and you get the same thing on the men's side as well, because you have 4 from Raw, 4 from SmackDown. Really hard to make a prediction as to who's going to win. Well, although with the men's one it might have been a bit easier to predict who was going to win that one. So this 3rd or 2nd women's Money in the Bank ladder match, the number they give tends to vary, and if you don't know the story as to why that is, it's a long story. Anyway, this match features Sasha, Natalya, Ember, Alexa, Becky, Charlotte, Lana and Naomi all competing for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, as I was watching this, and before I tweaked my back when I was intending on doing my stupidly long review as I do, I even didn't have a whole lot I wanted to say about the match. I even stopped taking notes for the match during it, but that's a really good thing, because this match was awesome. I absolutely love this match. Like, I know there haven't been many women's ladder matches in WWE at all, and even when I'm saying WWE, I'm including like the likes of like OVW and all that. Or FCW, where I think they've had ladder matches in the past, but like this was a mile better than anything. Like this, for me, this is the new standard that they've set. All 8 women came out of it looking like absolute stars. It was such a good match, so many sequences, and I won't even want to really go into detail explaining any of them, because everyone pretty much got something really cool to do at some point. The match was great, and it was a lot longer than I thought it would be. It was like 17 or 18 minutes long, and the match ends with Alexa being able to get her hands on the briefcase, so she has the Money in the Bank Championship, and of course with her being on Raw, all eyes are now turned to the Nia Jax Ronda Rousey match for later in the night. Really great match. Like it's kind of horrible because I don't have much to say on the actual ladder match, aside from the fact that it's awesome. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should watch it, even just for some of like the amazing sequences that they have. And I've kind of gained a newfound respect for commentary teams, because you've so many things going on simultaneously. It can be actually a little tough to kind of call it. So you know you're off the hook for ladder matches, Michael Cole. Not you, Byron, though. Following that awesome, exhilarating, exciting, monumental women's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. 6th match of the night, and it is for the SmackDown Women's Championship as Carmella puts her title on the line against Asuka. Now, if you told me a few months ago that Carmella was going to have the SmackDown Women's Championship and she was going to have a one-on-one match defending the title against Asuka, I would have laughed hysterically for quite a long time, because Asuka is just going to eat her alive in a couple of seconds. But the thing we have here is Asuka's undefeated streak was broken by Charlotte at WrestleMania, and Carmella cashed in on Charlotte to become the SmackDown Women's Champion, and that was fine. But then when Charlotte had a rematch against Carmella one-on-one at Backlash, Carmella just won clean, which confused me horrendously at the time. So going into this match now, I'm like, oh Jesus, are they going to make Carmella like a threat to Asuka? Is she going to win this match clean? So it was weird. Like, it was good kind of going into it not knowing what was going to happen, but at the same time this was more of a sense of dread than anything else. But as for the match itself, it starts off as you're kind of your standard Carmella affair, where she's taunting her opponent, kind of goading them into doing something, going into attacking her, or doing something that'll put her in a position where she can take advantage, which she does. She's able to get herself and Asuka on the ring apron on opposite sides of a post. She's able to pull Asuka into it. And now, I have to constantly mention, I've never wrestled a match before, so I don't know these things, and it might be I might be just assuming here, but I don't know if Asuka was like disorientated or temporarily knocked out or hurt after that spot, and maybe she just, herself and Carmella just didn't gel in the ring, but something about Asuka just seemed really off after that spot and for the rest of the match. And actually, that'll be the first thing I'll ask you to leave in the comment section. When you were watching that match after that spot, are you just like, did you at any point, is it just me, or were you gonna go, oh, is Asuka alright? Is she hurt? Like, what's going on here? Like, she doesn't seem to be as graceful as she normally would be. And again, you know what, I'm probably just overthinking things here. Maybe herself and Carmella just didn't click, but as a result of that spot, Carmella's able to gain control, and we get the endless Carmella rest hold. And the same thing happened with the Charlotte match at Backlash. And the second she got Asuka on a hold on the mat, it was just like, no, we're going to have to sit here and watch her do a rest hold until the finish comes along. And yeah, that's pretty much what happens. Asuka's able to get back in control. It looks like she has things in hand, but then a mystery person, someone dressed up as Asuka, appears on the ring apron, which straight off the bat I was just like, oh, is that James Ellsworth? Nothing against James Ellsworth, but I really hoped it wasn't going to be him, because, like, yeah, just this whole setup, it was something I never thought of. Asuka standing there flabbergasted at someone dressed up as her, and it's like, oh, who could this be? This is an interesting turn of events. Is it, you know, maybe another female wrestler from Japan, someone from her past? Are we going to get this new storyline development? And the imposter takes its mask off, and boom, it's just James Ellsworth, the Chinless Wonder. But I'm not gonna lie, I popped huge, just like the Chicago crowd. Like, Ellsworth was like the most obvious choice, but at the same time, you know, me personally, I would have liked something different, but, you know, it's going to make Carmella's title reign a bit more interesting, and she's going to have another kind of wrinkle to her repertoire. She's going to have James Ellsworth, who's going to be able to interfere in matches on her behalf to kind of help her win, which it would have made a lot more sense if Ellsworth was around from the start of the title reign, but, you know, we can move forward with it, and it is great to see James Ellsworth back, but stay the fuck away from AJ Styles, you. Speaking of AJ Styles, next match is Styles himself putting up his WWE Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match. And for me, like, this is where it felt like the big one. Like, we'd all mentioned, the dream match at WrestleMania, well, you know, how that's just going to steal the show, going to be the greatest match in Mania history. It was a bit of a disappointment, but we had the Nakamura heel turn, and Nakamura just constantly punching AJ Styles in the dick. You had the double count out at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and then you had kind of the double count out inside the ring at Backlash when they couldn't answer the referee's 10 count. So because of all this, no one can answer the 10 count, I suppose they said, let's have a last man standing match, and this match was really good. Now, when the match started, like 10 minutes into the match, I had the same thought as I did as WrestleMania. It's like, either there's 20 minutes left in this match or we're in trouble. Thankfully, unlike WrestleMania, there was 20 minutes left in the match, so you had the slow build of the kind of the slow escalation for 10 minutes, but then after that things started to ramp up, and you got this really nice crescendo, and I can't even go into all the spots they had. You had Nakamura attempting a low blow on Styles when he goes for the Styles Clash for the first time, and AJ sees it coming and he's left, you know, he's left the duck out of the way, and you've like Nakamura just left standing there, or kind of, sorry, kneeling there with like his fist out, being like, uh-oh. Then after that you had like a Kinshasa on the announce table. You had a wicked Styles Clash off the steel steps onto the floor outside, which, God, you could have, like, Shinsuke could have died doing that one. And I think the most cathartic thing, like the kind of the build up of all this story, was after that Styles Clash, Nakamura is still able to get up onto his feet, but barely, and he's leaning against the table, the announce table, for support, and he does this "come on" thing, and Styles just boom, like, man, like the swiftest, stiffest kick in between the legs. The phenomenal forearm off the top rope onto Shinsuke on the outside through the table. Styles is able to get up to answer the referee's count, but Nakamura is not, so Styles retains, and that kind of puts a bit of a spanner in any prediction I had on how the story on SmackDown was going to progress going forward. But this match was amazing. Again, there's so much going on with it, and I'm kind of I'm trying to be as concise as I can be here, so I'm definitely not doing the match justice. Easily match of the night for me. Now, admittedly, I still would love to see that one-on-one match with Styles and Nakamura without the low blows or the stipulation, but for now Styles needs to move on and do something else, and so does Nakamura. Hopefully they can revisit, give them a 25 minutes to half an hour one-on-one match, no messing about, just straight up wrestling match. It'll be great. Really pumped for it. And actually, I have to mention, like, Styles has been the WWE champion since like November of last year, and I can't remember the last time we've had a champion well, at least recently, when we had a champion who had a reign this long, that I was just so consistently happy with them as the champions. So long may Styles' reign last, and I'm actually really curious to see where they're going to go with it going forward. Following that WWE Championship match, we're back over to Raw for the Raw Women's title, as Nia Jax puts her championship on the line against Ronda Rousey. Now, this is... I didn't like the build to this match. Like, the idea of Nia versus Rhonda, really liked that idea, but after going through the months of Alexa Bliss bullying Nia Jax, and being like, oh, Nia looks different and Alexa's being mean, we should be sympathetic for her, you know, don't be a bully, be a star. And as Nia says, oh, bullies always get their ass kicked. And the second she goes into this feud with Rhonda, just having come from that feud with Alexa, now Nia's bullying everyone because Nia has to play the heel opposite Rhonda. And in the kind of the pre-match package that plays before they make their entrances, when they're showing Nia bullying people, some of the footage they use was from her feud with Alexa, which is beating up Alexa. I was in knots laughing. Even like I read an interview, and I can't remember who it was with, but Nia did recently, and like even she was asked, are you a heel or are you a face, what's going on? And she responded with, I'm Nia Jax, which, like, you know, was probably the best answer you could give. It's better than, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, even, like, she could wind up being, like, the Big Show, where, like, 10 years from now, it's like, dude, what's the story with you being a heel or being a face? And he just goes, oh, I don't know, bad writing, which gets a chuckle out of me. So, anyway, the story going into this match was, could Ronda Rousey put the armbar on Nia Jax and make her tap out? Well, 6 days before Money in the Bank on Raw, she did that in the middle of the ring. So I love as they were going into the match, you had Michael Cole being like, can Ronda get the armbar onto Nia? And I can't remember who, it might have been Byron or Corey, said, you know, oh, but like we saw it on Raw. And it's like, but this is different. This is a sanctioned match. It's like, what are they doing? Like, you know, it's fair enough having Ronda put the armbar on Nia and making her tap on Raw, but don't have the story going into the match being, can she do it? We just saw her do it. It was the same with Bryan versus Cass. It's like, can he do it? Yes, we've seen him do it. So with this match, I figured it was going to go one or two ways. Either one, Ronda is going to demolish Nia in like under like 5 minutes, or failing that, Nia is actually going to be able to use her size, because like they showed a tail of the tape before the actual match, and like it did have some like interesting stats out. Like Nia has like 4 or 5 inches in height on Ronda, and has like, I can't remember, but like it was a lot of weight over her. So, and I know in wrestling you can kind of have, oh well, a small person, you know, like Daniel Bryan can beat Big Cass, but like in reality, like there's reasons why in like the likes of UFC and boxing they have weight classes. Like, you know, no matter how good you are, if someone's way taller and way bigger than you, it's not a fair fight. So like hilariously, when you like, if you were someone who was just like, oh, I can't believe they built Nia up as a threat, it's like, it's more to do with her size than anything else, and that does make sense. And when the bell rings, Nia goes like hard and fast after Ronda's shoulder thrusts in the corner, beeling her across the ring. The second she started shoulder thrusting her into the corner, I actually went, wow, I wonder will we see a Beal next. Lo and behold, she does one. Like, she needs to, you know, add more to her repertoire, or, you know, don't make the bulk of the matches. Like Brock Lesnar got over doing tons of German suplexes. I don't think anyone's going to get over in 2018 beeling people across the ring. But then, you know, there was, oh, and I have to mention this, I don't know if this was like if this was intentional or not. Either it was an accident, and even when it did happen, I was very worried for like Rhonda's health, because she could have potentially injured herself. But on the off chance that this was done on purpose, can I just say Ronda Rousey is the best wrestler of all time, and she has a wicked sense of humor. As Nia's inflicting offense on Ronda, you have Ronda gets close to the ropes, and she gets up. She's going to goes to bring herself to her feet, and like as she's crouched down and she's putting her guard up, you can imagine fighting in the UFC, fighting in the octagon, you have the steel cage that you could kind of lean back against, do something to brace yourself for. It's going to help you as you're getting up. So like as like Ronda's leaning into the ropes, she like totally misjudges the different distance and just goes completely between the middle and bottom rope and falls to the outside. You actually do it with the camera angle, you don't see the impact, but like it's this really nasty backwards fall out of the ring. I don't know if that was on purpose. She was meant to be be thrown out of the ring, but then she threw herself out, or if it was an accident, because like, but when it happened, I had this brief moment. You even hear the crowd going, oh, like, oh shit, she could have really hurt herself. But then, like, once I saw she was fine, I just laughed my ass off, which, again, never wrestled the match. I'm sure if I ever did, I'd probably do something worse. But, like, just I had to mention it. It got such a goddamn laugh out of me. Despite that, because I'm focusing way too much on this, because I'm taken away from the fact it was an excellent match. Nia looked really good. Like, Nia has, like, if you look with this match with Rhonda and then some of her work on NXT, Nia's had quite a few really good matches, like against Bayley, Asuka, Rhonda, like matches way better than you ever thought that someone, and it's not just a case of someone of her size, just even with her wrestling style, you know, not very technical, it's that big kind of brutish style to it, but she had really good matches. This match with Rhonda was really good. It took Rhonda a while. She kind of had to acclimate to the way the WWE matches work. Like what I thought was a bit silly how they were constantly putting it over where it's like, this isn't the UFC, this is WWE, and it's just like, people don't have that perception of a UFC fighting coming to the WWE. They have that perception of a WWE superstar coming to fight in the octagon of the UFC. But anyway, once Rhonda is able to get back into control, which I believe she does by actually doing a armbar over the top rope while she's dangling to the outside, that was able to take Nia out for a moment. And you had some great stuff from Rhonda. You had a crossbody off the top rope, which, like, Rhonda could have wrestled for 10 years and never once gotten to the top rope, and no one would have batted an eyelid over it. So it's really cool to see her kind of, you know, really going all in with it. She had this wicked neat strike, which, like, that she hit on Nia, which I actually immediately after that, I'm like, oh Jesus, now is Nia okay? And Rhonda does a bloody judo throw on Nia Jax. Like, it takes her a couple of attempts, but she nails it. So, like, yeah, this match is back and forth, really great. It was, you know, they told a good story. Then you have Rhonda has Nia down in the middle of the ring, and she's trying to lock the armbar in, and you have this slow, like, Nia kind of has her hands clasped, and Rhonda slowly, and, like, you get a point where she's, like, hanging on by 2 fingers, and but then Alexa Bliss comes in and hits Rhonda from behind, and that causes the disqualification. Now, normally once the match ends, I kind of give a few points of what I thought in the match, but we don't have time for that because we have to go directly on to the 9th match, because Alexa takes out Rhonda, throws her over the announcer's table outside, and lays into Nia with the Money in the Bank briefcase and immediately cashes in. She hits Nia with a DDT, Twisted Bliss, and Alexa Bliss is the new Raw Women's Champion. So, I'm going to have to cover both these matches. First of all, like, Alexa was able to beat Nia for the title in under a minute due to a cash-in. She only had the briefcase for, I believe it was 2 hours and 8 seconds before cashing in, which I don't know if that is a new record, but I'd be shocked if it's not, because you have Dean Ambrose and Kane have also cashed in Money in the Bank the same night they won. But as for, again, the Rhonda Nia match, really good. And then Alexa coming in, it was a really nice twist, because, you know, by all means and purposes, Rhonda should have beaten Nia, so they had to come up with something to stop Rhonda. Because if Rhonda won the title now, and she signed a contract for a couple of years, like, it's going to be hard to tell a good story, because outside of that, then the story is just going to be Rhonda has the title, nobody can beat Rhonda, how long can we keep this story up before it gets boring? So you have this nice little wrinkle to the story now. You have, like, Rhonda had that match in hand, she should be the champion now, but she's not because of Alexa's interference. Like, she has she can actually stake a claim on getting another shot at the title, but Nia has her Champions rematch as well, so there's more of a dynamic going on to it. And actually, if you've watched Raw, you saw Bliss was able to kind of goad Rhonda into attacking her, and when referees came down to stop her, Rhonda attacked them as well. So in story, Rhonda's been suspended for 30 days, so they can kind of continue on. Nia can go on and feud with Alexa. Who's going to be the babyface now? Who's going to be the bully this time around? Who knows? And but then once that 30-day suspension is over, they can have the Nia Alexa story out of the way by then. Rhonda can come back, story set up, love it, it's great. Finally, for the main event, we have the 8-man Money in the Bank ladder match. 4 superstars from Raw, 4 superstars from SmackDown. We've got Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, Finn Balor, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, Rusev, The Miz, and 1 member of the New Day, because while all 3 of the members of the New Day kind of qualified, they had to pick one of them to partake in the match. The person they picked for the match was Kofi. I would have liked to have seen Big E, but Kofi did, you know, a lot of good work in this match. Like with the women's ladder match, I actually don't have a whole lot to say about the match, aside from the fact that I thought it was really good. everyone looked really good in it, but I think no one looked better than Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman had that classic kind of Kane multi-man match. If you looked at any ladder match or multi-man match that Kane was in, like in the late 90s and the early 90s, the bell would ring and everyone would hop him and they'd try to keep him down, but they'd never be able to keep him down for long. But hilariously, the thing I noticed, like, you know, with Kane, me being as big of a fan of Kane as I am, whenever that happened with Kane, he would rarely win the match then. Like the people dogpiling on him so much would eventually take him out of the equation. But with Braun, he just kept coming back from the dead. And again, I don't want to mention any spots in particular because I'll be here all night mentioning spots, but the only one I will mention was when Braun kind of made his triumphant rise from the dead one last time and he's taken everyone out. You had, I can't remember, two of the competitors had a ladder and they're kind of holding it at either end, and they went to run like with a pane of glass to smash into Braun, but like he just bulldozed right through it. It was really cool, and by the end of the match we had just Finn Balor and Braun Strowman on a ladder, but Kofi Kingston springboards off the rope onto Braun's back, and like Braun's just like, I don't care if you're on my back, I'm still climbing anyway, and he climbs up, he knocks down Balor, he just kind of grabs Kofi off his back and hoofs him off the top of the ladder in a really scary looking fall. It was really cool, and Braun wins. Yeah, really good match. Like I don't know if I'd put it up there as one of the best Money in the Bank ladder matches kind of all time, but it was a really good match. I definitely recommend that you give it a watch. And while Braun was such the obvious pick for as the winner, a part of me didn't think he actually would, because they were making it so obvious. Like, Braun was so dominant. Again, it's like that Kane thing where I'm really happy for Braun, because this adds, like, while I would have loved the Miz to have won, and then you could have had a story involving Miz, the Money in the Bank briefcase, AJ Styles, WWE Championship, and Daniel Bryan, would have been great. The fact that, like, the main event scene has gotten so Roman Reigns-y and Jinder Mahal over on Raw, and there's no sign of the Universal Champion. The fact that Braun actually has the briefcase and he can have a championship match whenever he wants. So, and now I want Braun to be the guy to dethrone Lesnar. Hilariously, I actually, pretty much from after WrestleMania, I was like, well, it's definitely not Roman that I want to see do it anymore. Not that not that most people wanted to see Roman do it in the first place, but once Roman lost at Mania, it was like, alright, he's done. Can we try someone else now? Braun has the briefcase. Let it be him. Now, so that's pretty much it. I know it's weird. I had a lot of notes written, a lot of points I want to make, but I had to take out so many of them because of the issue at my back. So I do apologise. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's definitely going to be the shortest review I've done. So while I'm a bit fluttered here because I had to like tear out a lot of the script and I had to improvise around a lot of things. Outside of that, just let me know, do you prefer the shorter kind of approach to the video? Because if it is, I'll try do it more. I can actually try write bullet points in the script that's more aiming towards this type of video. Anyway, as for where I rank this, I would say this is the fourth. Just so you know, I'll be doing this ranking of what kind of best to worst of the year, and I've only started with WrestleMania, so I'll still say WrestleMania 34 was the best pay-per-view that I've reviewed so far this year. I will put Money in the Bank second. It dipped horrendously in the middle with the Roman Reigns match that I didn't talk about and the Asuka Carmella match, but outside of that, you had some really cool moments. Really good pay-per-view overall. Then I would put the Greatest Royal Rumble next, and then Backlash. Again, God help us if anything worse than Backlash comes along. I have to wrap this up again. Apologies, a couple of days from now hopefully the back will have cleared up and we'll get the show on the road. If you liked the video, feel free to hit that like button. Share this video to all your friends you talk to wrestling about. Be like, hey, here's a guy you just made. I actually don't know how this video is going to turn out. This was a really good video talking about the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and and again, in the comment section I think I've left a couple of points in the video. It's just like, let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you thought about the pay-per-view overall. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll be giving the roster of what videos I'll be uploading and when for next week, and yeah, that's it. Yes, I knew there was one more thing. We have the UK Championship Tournament coming up, which I'll do a review on that, but I know it's being staggered over 2 days, so I don't know how long it's going to be and what way I'm going to do the review for. Oh yes, and that's why you have to follow me on Twitter, so that way you can know when. I'm hoping Friday next week I can have the review for that tournament out. So anyway, Thanks as always for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.